We're going to call this meeting to order for legislative agenda, March 11th, 2024. Commissioner Klein, would you mind saying the invocation for us?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we thank you for a beautiful day today, and we thank you for our opportunities to serve the people of Sumner County at the level we are right now. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom beyond human imagination and that we will be productive, honest, transparent, forthright in all of our dealings at this meeting. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right, now a motion for approval of the, before we approve the agenda, actually, Commissioner Rogers wanted to add a certificate of recognition or proclamation for 4-H.
Yes, right, that's attached in the packet, so I move to add that.
Second, I'll do it.
Well, I don't think any other changes.
Yes, I believe there's two on the zoning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, we can do that when we get to it. Without objection, there are two things under zoning that I want to remove to refer back to planning, and it is items B and C, dealing with county zoning resolution. So I'm going to strike those from the agenda, and we're going to send that back to planning.
B and C. B and C.
B and C.
Bravo, Charlie.
And it does say in the caption, refer back to planning at the end of each of those items. So we'll do that. Go ahead and, with the approval of the agenda, include the referral back to a planning commission and the adoption of the 4-H. Do I have a motion?
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Teacher. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Klein. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Approval of the minutes, February 12th. Motion by Commissioner Shove. Second by Commissioner Klein. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to abstain just because I wasn't
We
here.
have an abstention for Commissioner Teacher. Recognition of the public. All right, we have 3 people signed up. When I call your name, if you please come stand up here and state your name and address for the record. So Miss Alicia Neighbors, and you have 5 minutes.
Alicia Neighbors, I'm the director of the Hendersonville Public Library, and I wanted to talk about our facility and the contract between county and city. So I've only been in an appointment as a director for a year, but in that time, we've had the HVAC fail, elevators fail. Currently, our fire backflow system has failed, and we're working on getting that fixed. The issue comes when these big items happen. I'm being told by the repair people that, you know, if we had done regular maintenance, then we wouldn't be facing these big expenses. When I reach out to both city and county, since we're 50-50, I get a lot of runaround, especially from city, on what is exactly routine maintenance and what needs to be serviced. County has come in very quickly to send out repair people or to send out groups. So I'm being ignored by one side and being paid attention to by the other side, but I still don't know where the actual responsibility lies. The contract between city and county on who provides what and what is routine maintenance and what is actually like a big repair bill isn't very clear. So questions for, hey, I just got this backflow assembly that needs to be done. I don't have the budget for that. It's got to go somewhere. It looks like it falls under routine maintenance, which would be city, but then city tells me this is county. We need something that's a little bit more specific to give those of us to know who to go to. So we're not spending 4 or 5 months trying to get an elevator fixed. Currently, in order to stay open, we are doing a fire watch, which requires a member on staff to be walking the building every 30 minutes to make sure we're not on fire. We don't have a large staff, and taking somebody off and doing that is just a problem. I do know that we are going to be sending stuff over to county, but I question whether he is actually the one responsible for it. I feel like defining these services and being very specific about it would help long-term on getting things fixed and not making not only our staff but our patrons suffer through 90 degrees in a meeting room in the summer, or broken elevators where I have elderly employees who can't get upstairs, as well as the friends of the library who want to work upstairs. So that's really all I had to say about that, and if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sanders, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Mr. Tim Jones.
Tim Jones, 112 Georgetown Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee. I came to speak on the item on your agenda that discusses the Brown Park. I think it's about midway down the agenda, but I don't know what number it is. I thank all of you guys, first of all, for voting unanimously to refer this to legislative to look over. We had a really nice resolution that we made in general operations to form this Brown Park and try to untangle some of the mess that was created by the previous administration, because there was confusion on whether where the $500,000 that Mr. Brown had donated to the county was, and because it was tied up in the trust money that was supposed to be separate as designated by the will, we couldn't find for a long time. But then in all the searching, we got presented with plans for a park in December in the General Operations Committee meeting, and found out that the schools have been planning this park all along. And then it was mentioned by the director of schools in the February Board of Education meeting that he was told to come there by Mayor Isbell to make everyone aware of this MOU that existed. When researched on that, found out that the MOU was created in 2020. I wish we would have known that before we started doing all the work for the resolution in the General Operations Committee. But looking into that MOU, we don't understand how it got created. We don't see a vote on it from any kind of resolution or commission action. And in the MOU, the former county mayor designates that money that was supposed to be separated back in 2017 when Mr. Brown died was going to stay in the trust. I don't think it ever got separated to begin with. It should have been separated day one. But we learned from our recent court case that Chancellor Oliver firmed up our belief that the county, and only the county commission, has the ability to dictate what happens with county-owned property. So this MOU is a real problem. It's conflicting with our resolution, and there's a timeline you all should have. The letter that I read, or the motion that I made at the commission meeting, all of you should have a copy of that to look at the timeline of the events that have been found out through a lot of research. And in the meantime, this park that has been planned is contingent upon a lot of things tied up in this MOU that is not in compliance with the law. And the construction of the park was to be started in March. So we're not in compliance with Mr. Brown's will, most importantly. And we're not in compliance with the law with the MOU. So I hope you guys can uncover everything and untwist it and untangle it and get us back into compliance. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, Mr. Joey Rollins. Come up here and speak. Mr. Joey Rollins.
Mr. Mansfield, he left because the item on the agenda he wanted to speak on was removed.
Okay. All right. That concludes public comments, recognition of the public. Report of the chairman, I have none. Report of the county mayor.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Report. Old business A, discussion, resolution 1504-02, clarifying ownership, routine maintenance, support services, and funding for the Hendersonville Library. Entertained motion.
Move to discuss.
Second.
And I'd like to give a cue.
And second by Commissioner Klein. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Shea.
I guess this is just a question to Mr. Sittler. Just interested in what, if any, progress has been made with our discussions with City of Hendersonville.
As instructed, I reached out to the city attorney for Hendersonville and was sent a response which should have been a handout to everybody. It'll be from Lance Ray.
Ray.
Do y'all have
Yeah, I
that?
got it right here.
So in summary,
This one, that,
basically I'd put out that what the county was willing to entertain was they turn over their interest in the or the real property, and then we take over full care and upkeep of the facility as sole owner. The other option was we surrender our interest to them, and then they take full control of that property and all maintenance and everything. And the third was we come to some contract about 50-50 split because it's 50-50 ownership. And the response I got was the one you see here. They wanted to do a conditional option 1, which was for them to surrender their property interest to the county with a commitment of an increase in operational hours to 48 by January 2025. And they were also requesting an appointment to the library board, but understood that based on the appointment of entities, legislative bodies, that there could just be one. So that one, it seemed like they asked but understood they couldn't get it all in the same sentence. So that's pretty much the response we got, and I did not respond back pending whatever.
I guess this is my thought on it. I'm fine with this, but I wouldn't want to consider increasing those I would want to consider increasing operational hours during the typical budget cycle. Like that's what I would want to do. So, you know, I don't know if we want to defer it until then. That's my thought. I wouldn't want to look at this, you know, ballpark figure here. You're probably talking $25,000 to $30,000 extra a year. Yes, is it more? Are we also taking on more of the maintenance? Yes, we are, but it clarifies. It just keeps things simple. I think it'll help out the library. I think it'll help out the folks there, but I don't want to consider that off cycle because it's additional salary, et cetera, et cetera. That's my thought on it.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, currently, what hours do the other libraries keep? Is this like 6/8 a day, or?
I don't know, again, what they keep, but I mean, I guess I have a problem with this in principle. We're trying to solve a solution, a problem with the solution of, you heard the library director say that, I mean, they've had the air conditioning unit broken for years. So the resolution that Hendersonville has had with the county, they've been not living up to their end of the bargain in the county, or the county hasn't, or everybody, so in the past. And it's like I said at Bowman when the law director and I went, this is not placing blame on anybody. All these issues and this resolution, this bad resolution, predates everybody in Bowman, everybody in the county commission, both city mayors, county mayors. It's like, how do we solve that problem of this? And I don't understand. I'm baffled by this because it's not like we're saying we want the library to take on full responsibility and absolve you of your financial responsibility to maintain it. No, by the way, we also want to just like increase our budget to do more hours. I don't understand how that's a good deal for us. I mean, it's just a bizarro upside down world. It's like, no, we're taking it off of you and taking on the burden of cost. If they want to provide more money, I think, to open the library, I think that would be amenable. Because, I mean, Hendersonville claims that they support the library, but I'm not financially seeing the support from Hendersonville on the library doing their fiduciary responsibility to take care of the patrons and take care of the building. And so I know that our library board has worked hard, our maintenance department, county mayor's office, law department, to try to get these problems just fixed. And so it comes down to is just fix the problems and get done what needs to get done. I mean, this has been going on since August of last year. We've been having this discussion, and we still got things broken. I'm not amenable to doing more money towards hours because this is nothing a good deal about this for us. We're just like, hey, we're willing to just take the responsibility and absolve you of that, just so we can make sure the patrons in your city aren't left in the lurch because you're not willing to take care of your own citizens. And so that's how I see it.
We could counteract their counter to us with, if all the libraries in the county right now work 40 hours a week, they can make up the difference for the additional 8 hours. And I mean, that is one.
I mean, we don't know what the budget looks like, and to Commissioner Schoaf's point, I mean, I wouldn't even want to entertain that right now personally, but also, I mean, we don't, how many hours the other libraries are open is irrelevant to me. It's not part of the discussion. I think that's a moot point.
Okay.
I think it doesn't make a difference.
And, I mean, I'm all for the county taking control of this, but then again, I don't wanna have to rely on Hendersonville to pay us for those extra hours, because they already owe us money through property tax, inspection. And so that right there just shows bad faith as far as that's concerned. I'm not gonna get strung over a barrel, you know, for 8 hours. We'll keep it at 40 hours. If that's what everybody else in the county's doing, just let it go with that. But then again, also, I do like the fact that let's take this on after, during the budget cycle and take care of it that way. It's been going on for a long time, and I know, she's had a lot of problems, and she's only been there just a little while, as far as that goes, and understands that fiduciary responsibilities have been passed along, and or just shoved to the side.
Commissioner Teacher.
I say it reminds me of a story. There were these two folks that had this car they were sharing. One was their cousin and one was them. And this one person was putting all the effort into it. They were both getting the same thing out of it. Both of them were sharing this car, but the person A was putting all the work into it, changing the oil, changing the tires. Person B wasn't doing anything, and so finally it's like, hey, here's an option. Would you like me just to take over the car and it be fully mine and we own it? And then the cousin said to the person, yeah, sure, but I would like to use it more than I'm already using it. Does that sound like a good deal to anybody? Just saying. I rest.
Mr. Schoaf.
So, I mean, look, I may not disagree with what some of y'all are saying, but sometimes you gotta look at reality, and the reality is that they still have, you know what I mean? Sometimes you're not negotiating from a position of perfect strength here, and we're not. And so if we want, I'm gonna have a motion on this, and that motion's gonna be to defer in a minute, but if we want to take this over, because of the fact that they have a position in this, like, we ultimately, we can hold our feet down and we say, well, we're not gonna do it, and they can say, okay, that's great, and in the meantime, Alicia's gonna be still not knowing who she needs to go for. Or we can think, well, I don't like this exactly, but is it something that we could bear? Maybe. I don't wanna consider that yet. I wanna consider it during the budget. And if it's a minimal cost, that's not gonna be out of line of the rest of the county, which that's a good point too. And it's not gonna crush us. I mean, that's one of these things we're like, okay, well, all right, we take it over, county comes in, we're the good guys. But my motion is, because I don't want to consider this except as part of the budget, I'd just like to move to defer this discussion until we consider it during the course of normal budget.
Second.
The water agenda.
Yes, if I could,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. I just want everybody to be cognizant of the fact that we have ongoing problems at the facility right now. And there's a bunch of back and forth about who's going to be responsible. I will admit the county's been quick to fix it, and we'll figure out who's going to pay later, because we can't have a non-operating library out there. So at least that seems to be the consensus. This stuff is ongoing. We've even got repairs that, if I'm saying this correctly from my discussions with the director out at that library, Hendersonville has even made comment that we know that can't be the problem because we take care of it routinely, but now they're not there to fix it. So I believe the mayor's having to send people out there to fix it. So this isn't something we need to keep deferring, if you ask me. I think some resolution needs to come rather quickly.
I mean, here's what's gonna happen. What's gonna vote, I'm gonna say, all right, let's do this, let's consider this, it's gonna get voted down. We're gonna go back and City of Hendersonville's gonna tell us to pound sand and we're gonna be right back where we were. That's what's gonna happen.
There's gonna
Well,
be,
That's what's gonna happen.
There is an option C. I mean, we're talking about a contract. We're talking about a deed that our position is that, the law director position is, it's 50/50, that for major repairs and breakages, each partner pays 50% of the cost. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Law Director, that's what the city of Hendersonville is kind of disputing, is that they don't have to pay half of that cost of like a major repair. And so there is ambiguity in the resolution that has caused a little bit of a problem. But when you look at the deed and you look at it in the context of whole, there is no ambiguity there, at least that's my understanding. So, I mean, there is another option on having, people like to go to court around here. So there's an option of having, litigate this, but not that I want to do that, but I'm just saying. But I'm
I'm gonna spend more money in litigation than, sorry.
But the problem is, it's tiresome for what looks like a clear position of the law and have to get a lawsuit for us to win, which we're doing on our lawsuits. So I'm just saying, it's just, it started out as an innocent thing of like, hey, because nobody was fixing the problem for years, and I think from what I've heard from previous employees of the director is that nobody wanted to rock the boat, I think is a word I heard used before, between the city and the county, because they weren't willing to take the problem, and it's just been broken forever. So it's just a matter of like, hey, yeah, if you want to give it to us, we'll take it on, just end of story. Well, I think some of us are willing to do that, and let's just fix the problem and move on. If Hendersonville's not willing to do that part, as far as like we have ownership of the building, and which would incur the major expenses and maintenance costs to us, and not this 50/50 thing, like the example that Commissioner Teacher gave us with the weird Bizarro card example. But I mean, that's just my opinion. But it just, not that we're trying to be, I don't understand why Hendersonville is not being a good partner in this. I don't understand. It's their library. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for the library patrons, the director. It's just like, can we just clarify this so we can make sure that, and we have a point of contact, whatever this is, and it's just like, nope. So, I mean, we can do stuff.
So, I mean, we can do whatever we're gonna do here, but I will be adamantly against, doing this would cost us, let's say, $30,000 a year maybe. I mean, it'd be 4 or 5 times that potentially to go to court. Like, I don't.
if I may, I wasn't saying that we need to accept this. That was not what I was saying. We can do a counter offer. We can do whatever you want to do. I don't care. My only point was, this is gonna come to a head here pretty quickly.
So I guess my only thought here is this. Budget is basically we're gonna be closed up on budget in 2 months. So I'm gonna move to defer, and because we've been operating, it's not the best. We're gonna continue to do what we're doing. We'll keep doing the fixes, keep a tally of what, our 50% should be, if we want to keep that in our back pocket for negotiation purposes, which I think we should. But we're just talking 2 months here, and maybe 3. So I'm going to move to defer this until end of budget and consider it as part of budget. That's my motion. Oh, you seconded that, so I think we're.
Can I
Commissioner
ask,
Teacher?
I just want to ask one quick question. Do we know, I don't have to have an exact amount, but do we have a minimum of how much that is owed by Hendersonville?
I do not.
Do we have
He's promised us a check.
I know.
I don't even think they've paid usually they pay $50,000 annually. I don't think that's been paid for this year, but I would defer that
He
to
promised a
Mr.
check
Long.
if we would have voted yes on exit 8,
Well, that was a
didn't vote
different.
yes.
That was a different.
No, that was
Well,
what?
that was property tax.
Yeah. That
Oh,
was
what?
assessment.
Yes.
So there's more, oh yeah, that's right, property tax.
Hendersonville does pay some
That's what-
things.
that's what I was
And
looking
they
at.
send people and they pay bills for some of the contracts, but the county does as well. And the issue is on major repairs, the city of Hendersonville, I think I read an email to the law director that he sent to me and answered this question was, I think it was the elevators that got repaired, and they paid half the cost, but said that basically they want us to pay them back that half of the cost.
So they did pay.
Mayor Clary said that in an email to the law director. So, But they're disputing it, say they don't owe us that. They went ahead and paid it for half the cost of the repair of the elevators. But again, maintenance, you know, if things aren't being maintenance, and I think for the company for those sprinkler systems was basically saying that these things haven't been maintained properly or maintained, so.
So I guess, I mean, this is more, in my mind, this is more a good reason to defer. We'll get, if we are owed anything, I don't know if we are or not. If we are owed anything, I'd like to know that, to know that by budget time too, so that can potentially be part of the, okay, great, we'll consider this, but we want, you know, we want back X, Y, and Z, potentially, if that's the case.
I'd like to make an amendment to that motion, if that's okay, or you can just change your motion. I'd like to put that in there though.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
I can't amend it to any, well, I'll direct my comments to the chair, but I can't make any, I can't make an amendment because I don't know what they may or may not owe us.
The only clarification I would look for is if that is a full deferment or is some sort of back and forth still desired from this committee.
I'll amend the motion, just to respond that, to just, if this be the will of the body, to hand the property over to the county, period. That's my amendment.
Can I say one more thing?
Which needs a second.
I just want to say, I don't think anybody here wants any ill will to the Hendersonville Library. I think that what the thing that's frustrating is I don't even feel like that Boma probably feels that way. I think that we just can't get together to figure out how to do it and move forward. And so we got to make some kind of a solution to where that we're able to have the patrons have, you know, some resolution for that, so that they're not stuck in something that continues to have. Maybe there won't be another thing, but you know, there always seems to, if it will, it will. You know, so I don't know if what was your motion?
My amendment was simply to counter with just them handing the property over to the county.
Second.
Can
Mr. Rogers.
I make an amendment to your amendment?
Commissioner Rogers is the queue first.
Okay.
So my question would be, you know, last time we drug this through and around, and it was a good thing because we needed the bond. We needed the bond ratings and all that stuff that would help us financially. I like where you're going with your amendment, because I've never known, and this is probably a poor excuse to use, but a landlord-tenant, and the landlord tell the tenant how long they can keep their hours of their store open or whatever it is. That's kind of where we're at here. The Hendersonville saying, yeah, you can do it, but we want to tell you to keep your hours 8 hours longer, 16 hours longer, or whatever we're originally doing. So if we're going to have the building, I think that's what we need to do. We need to have it to where we have it, the library board runs it, sets the hours, sets the schedule, because they know the staff that's already there, how they can work. So I think that's why I support your amendment. If they're going to let us have it, and we need the bond ratings to keep our.
It's already on our books right now.
I understand, but if we take all of it, then it makes us that much more of a shining star, probably. So, and then we'll take on the maintenance and all of it too. So I think that's where we need to go.
Commissioner Teacher.
I want to say I agree. I'm not going to argue that, because even though it stinks, and I think that we're actually losing some money in this situation, I believe that it's the best thing for the citizens just to get it straightened out. And I mean, I don't want an argument with Hendersonville, you know. So
my understanding from Chairman Hyde was that I think originally the county wanted it once it was built. And then Millersville did the same thing. They built it and handed it over. Portland's the only one that they own their own outright. The county does not own their building. We just staff it, fund it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not trying to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead.
I would like to see, since we're talking about budgets and everything else, maybe how much the county spends in staffing.
We spend, for that library, about $920,000 a year.
For Hendersonville.
Mm-hmm. Just that library alone, and $940, and Hendersonville gives us $50,000 towards it. So that's our cost.
For how many patrons that's registered at that library?
No, not have a clue, but we spend close to $1 million on that library, just our cost. You know, 900,000. That's about right.
I mean, so I'm not going to speak out of order.
So no, I've got to wrap my head around this. So every kid in Sumner County schools has an iPad that has the World Wide Web on it. We can see everything from Three Little Pigs to whatever other books they want to see. So, and we're still spending $940,000 a year.
Well, not just that one library.
So I guess I would really like to see, since we're going into budget season, before I speak too much out the side of my neck, because there's something that's rolling around in my head, but I'm gonna try to hold it where it's at. I would really like to see how many patrons we have at each library that we support and how much money we spend. Because I think we're headed down a dark hole, debt-wise, that may not be necessary for us to take on.
Second.
Was that a motion?
I don't know what that was
That
for,
wasn't a motion.
but I appreciate you liking my idea. So, and I don't know what's the best way to handle that. I mean, we got,
I mean, that's not part of my amendment.
I agree.
But it's part of Commissioner Show's point.
and I think teachers backing me up, but I don't know where we need to go.
I'm gonna consider it during budget.
I guess, yeah, that's just something I want us to be mindful of and look at as we go forward, because that's a lot.
Sure, but my amendment, obviously, I got a second, we hadn't voted on
Correct.
it yet, was just straight up.
Just us taking it.
Not anything
Yeah.
else. No commitment to that is basically, is my, we're close on time, can you make it quick?
We've
Tim?
been over it.
I like your amendment, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to suggest, would it not be more palatable just to at least offer back with them, taking it with the promise that we'll at least look at it during budget season to see if they can look at it. You're not making any commitment, but you're saying that you will look at it. They gave you two asks. One was unreasonable. We can write that one off, but the second one is something we will look at and maybe come up with a way to make it work for being open on Fridays later, but at least your amendment would work still with that good faith offer.
Commissioner Rogers, sorry.
You're fine. Commissioner Schofield, go ahead if you'd like
I
to.
mean, that's basically what my amendment was, just to defer that, so we could look at it and consider that option. Or that's what my motion was to do. That's why I just defer it till then, we'll consider this option then. That's what I was trying to
But
do.
this gives a counter offer so he can go act on it, is what I'm saying. Instead of deferring it back to this committee, he can actually go back with a counter offer
You know what?
now if you guys
That's fine.
vote on this.
I mean, we've got a budgetary and a legal situation here, and we need to resolve that, because taking ownership is legal, and then the budgetary and the staffing and all that kind of stuff is the money side.
Well, I'll go ahead and daisy chain these. I'll amend your motion.
All right, amendment to the amendment. Go ahead, Commissioner Sheriff.
So, I'll basically do what Mr. Jones said here, that, we're sending this back, for now with a no, but that we will consider it during budget.
So to restate your question is that tagging on the my amendment that
Yep.
Commissioner Rogers seconded is to basically say no to anything other than handing the county property over, but that we will look during budget cycle, during our budget hearings here, about any other.
To add, we will consider, to add this.
Considering, along with doing a comparative analysis like the Commissioner.
Well, I don't know about the comparative now. I'm just saying we will consider this. I just want to keep it simple. We will consider this, not now. We will consider it during, for now the answer is no, we're not going to do this. But when we get to budget, we will consider this.
So if that's the
That's
case,
my amendment.
if that's the case, we don't need to take any action. We just need to roll it over to old business.
That's what the original, that's what my original.
Well, the action is to have the county law director go back to the city attorneys. That was the.
Yeah, what's the real property side
Is
of
to
this?
keep- I mean, that's the action. It is action.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
I believe that in agreement with everything that's been said here, I think that the best thing we could do is I'm just restating what I believe the amendment actually kind of says. And forgive me if I'm wrong. Are you saying, what if you go back and what if we tell the county law director to go back and say, okay, we cannot agree to the 48 hours because we don't know what our budget is, but we will take ownership and just even Stephen, even Slate, and we will consider whether or not we can add hours when our budgetary cycle comes around.
I think that's
That way
Commissioner
we're,
Sheriff's amendment.
I know, that way we're making
We have a
action.
second?
We're making action.
I don't have a second.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay, now we have a
All right.
second.
Any other
So that's what
discussion?
that says.
For Commissioner Sheriff's amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We voted on Commissioner Sho's amendment to say no to the hours, to agree to handing the county property over with a promise that we will look in the budget cycle, no guarantees, but we will look at future hours. Did I restate that clearly enough?
Got it.
All right. Is that good enough for the record? All right.
Now we have to daisy chain these. We gotta vote on yours and the,
Well, I think yours,
I think ours-
yours wiped everything out.
oh, okay. That's fine.
Group and approve.
All right.
So
We're at item B.
Item B, discussion, county parks and recreation board.
Here we go.
Without an objection, I would like to keep this on old business for next month.
No objection.
Any objections?
No.
All right. Item C, docketing circuit court clerk personnel policies. Do I have a motion?
For discussion, so moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion for discussion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Floor is open. Anybody get discussion?
I was just told last month to pull them, so I don't know if they've been resubmitted.
In the packet, it's been resubmitted without the language that we had last month, that additional
Yeah,
language.
this is just a redocketing of something that was already passed through. We're just tweaking the language on the actual resolution that comes up in front of commission.
Okay.
So there's no change in the policy since it was last submitted and approved.
All right.
Make a motion to accept.
There's no need for any action on it.
Okay.
Roll
All right.
on.
All right, we'll pass that on to the commission. All right, executive session discussion for election
So
commission
moved.
case.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I have to ask everybody to clear the room, or we go into